valleytalk.com.
And welcome back to Central Valley Business. My next guest is Richard Wahl from Safety World Incorporated. And basically it's a safety consulting company dealing heavily with ag. How are you, sir? Nice to meet you.
Excellent. Great.
Right.
Thank
Your
you.
company's been around how many years?
9 years.
9 years. What exactly is it you do? What is safety consulting?
We go in and help smaller businesses control their losses so they don't have the injuries, help to get them within compliance with OSHA and regulatory bodies, and then work with training their employees and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you look for potential accidents before they happen? Is that what you do? Or?
Yes. Well, with years of experience, you can see what's coming up. So look for hazards, things that could cause problems.
Yeah. Some, I'm guessing, are obvious, like, oh, that carpet, you could trip over the carpet. You probably look for the other things that aren't so obvious, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on.
Can you give us any examples of?
Well, obviously, one of the simple ones is just, like you said, housekeeping sort of issues. And it does show up. If the work area isn't kept in good, clean condition, you'll find trip and fall hazards, slip and fall, different things like that. Electrical sorts of issues, not always obvious, but they're there. And sometimes you'll just have poor wiring, things like that you spot before something goes wrong.
Yeah. So somebody hires you, you go in and look at their property and make a list of all the potential safety
Correct.
hazards?
Yes.
Yeah. And what's the reaction do most people say, ooh, I'll take care of these? I guess after they're presented them, they better take care of them, right?
Yeah, typically. What happens a lot of times, people get busy and they don't get them all done.
Yeah.
But they'll try to catch up on as they go. Some are more regulatory than obvious. There are, for example, if you don't mark a breaker on a breaker panel properly, there's a OSHA fine for that, but it may or may not be a problem in the future.
Only if a OSHA inspector showed up and caught it?
Yeah, or if there was an emergency and you had to flip that particular switch and didn't know which one it was. But yeah, it'd be a rare occurrence.
Boy, what a pain to run a business these days, and all those little things that...
Complicated.
How did you get into this field of work?
Well, that was... I actually was farming at the time. And
What'd you farm?
Wheat and barley and some canola in northern Canada. And it was right at the time when interest rates were going through the roof in the 70s and early 80s. We hit 28% interest on our operating loan and finally lost the operation. So I moved back here and got into a manufacturing plant and was asked after a year or two to take over the safety. I'd never done it. I learned it on the job. A consultant taught me, and we saved about $250,000 in 2 years. And our investment was about $25,000.
Wow.
And it was so impressive to me, and I saw the injuries drop off 70%, and everything just got better, production, and everything was better. So I decided to go into it for a career.
Yeah. So a business that hires you, they're going to pay you a certain amount up front or whenever you build them. But you're saying in the long run, it's going to save them a lot of money.
Yeah, statistically, it's about a 3-to-1 return. Liberty Mutual just did a recent study on it. Now
I remember seeing that here, yeah.
The financial controllers of the larger corporations say it's higher than that. It's over $4 for every dollar invested.
Explain that.
So, for example, let's say we put $10,000 into a program for the year. The expected savings down the road is going to be $30,000 to $40,000 in reduced injuries. Every time you have an injury, you have multiple costs related to that: equipment damage, loss of production, maybe damaged product coming out, and then you have downtime with the injured person, clerical time. There's a whole lot of other things that are...
One employee injured or killed can cost a company, well, I guess potentially millions under the right circumstances.
The worst case I heard was an $8 million claim.
Woo!
And that was in an office building. So...
If they'd only paid you that $20,000,
would have been cheap.
Wow. How... Can you tell us what happened there without revealing the name of the company?
That I don't know for sure. It was...
$8 million.
Yeah, the insurance company. I worked for an insurance company 15 years, and it was one of their claims. From what I would surmise, it was probably a trip and fall and brain damage or something like that.
Yeah. I would guess insurance companies would hire you a lot to go into companies and try to look for things that are wrong.
Yeah, I did contract with insurance companies for a year or so after I left the workers' comp carrier where I was. And then I went direct with the employers and got out of the insurance racket. I just got tired of, with the insurance industry, there's a whole lot of documentation, paperwork, and it's just extensive. And I was able to come up with my own formats and change the documentation. It's more usable, more friendly.
You made it more user-friendly. Okay. All right, so predominantly you deal with ag, but what are some of the other businesses that utilize your services?
We are involved with some trucking companies. I have a printing company that's in Texas and also here in California. We're doing some processing and packing. I have a food bank out in Texas that we work with, just quite a range, different types of industries. A plywood company in Texas as well. So,
are there businesses you won't work with? Or?
Not up front, no.
Ah.
There might be something, it just depends on a circumstance.
Yeah.
But no, basically we'll take anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically every business can utilize your services in some form or another, I would imagine.
Right. Some are very low risk. I mean, if it's strictly clerical, they're probably not going to use us much other than to maybe set them up with documentation. But if there are actual hazards, forklifts and equipment and operations going on, that mechanical type things, then yeah, it's very useful.
Yeah, okay. All right, again, the name of the business is Safety World Incorporated. You're headquartered here in Fresno, but you're in 4 states, you said?
Correct.
Right? So how can folks reach you?
My phone is 559-974-3087. And the email address is r.wahl, W-A-H-L, at safetyworldinc.com.
INC.
Correct.
.com. All right. Richard, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Interesting topic. And thank you for making businesses more friendly for all of us.
Thank you.
Safer for all of us.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be back with more on CentralValleyTalk.com.